In a survey of the attendees at the July 14th meeting, over 90% of those attending believe the virus will create investment opportunities. The club is looking to move all future events to Ahern's Hotel. Ahern's Hotel at 300 West Sahara has stepped up and assisted us in putting on an event like no other hotel was willing to do in these prohibitive times. The feedback after the event was overwhelmingly positive from the members, and so we will move all future events to Ahern's Hotel. Mike is working on this. Mike goes on to discuss the best investment strategies in today's market. He revisits his prior guidance that, had you followed, you would likely have more than doubled your money over the last 6 months. In fact, today silver and gold both hit multi-year highs. This is a video you want to watch to know what you want to do with your money in this environment. In today's market, there are many stock market valuation concerns and what remains a complete disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. The stock market is trading at 28.5 times next year's projected earnings, which is outrageous. Mike talks about the upcoming investing opportunities, particularly in commercial real estate, and what he foresees as fantastic cap rates to emerge in the next few years, which we as Investment Club can take advantage of. Because the club has not been able to hold regular meetings, Mike has written and forwarded many articles to membership, providing guidance to members. To those who have paid attention, this guidance has paid off in a huge way. During his talk, Mike addresses the club's investments and our confidence that we will get through these difficult times. The gyms were dealt an extremely difficult set of circumstances. Having opened the gyms for just 23 days, we are forced to shut them down again this week. However, Jeff Clark is doing an incredibly great job to ensure we will weather the storm. The LVIC fund is outperforming expectations in these difficult times. Mike addresses this and points out that all those who have invested should have received an update on the LVIC fund. In approximately 40 days of investing in the stock market, the $300K in funds, Mike has overseen gains of $70K. Annualized, that is several hundred percentage points of performance. The oil project is also going extremely well as we sit very heavy in cash and we are bottom feeding. The best opportunities come when there is blood in the streets, and the club is well positioned to take advantage of this situation. The club has invested in solid opportunities, and this Black Swan event has challenged all companies in an unexpected way, but we are rising to the occasion. Regarding investing in the stock market, Mike says to take your profits and run for the hills and hoard cash. There will be fantastic investment opportunities, but you must make sure you have cash in order to take advantage. He also addresses his election prediction that will surprise many members. He addresses head-on his concern with the Black Lives Matter movement. Mike does not hold back with his support of all lives matter and articulates the shortcomings of the BLM movement with no clear message of leadership. When Mike said to people prior to the meeting that one of his topics would be all lives matter, people said, "Are you crazy, Mike?" Mike has stated he will not be bullied by the BLM movement and goes on to convey his position that so many politicians, business leaders, and celebrities are cowards, unwilling or unable to stand up and be counted. It is sickening that people can be called racist for saying all lives matter. Mike goes on to state that he believes we are being bullied by the BLM movement, and when we ask if the Black Lives Matter movement uses bully tactics and if people were concerned with this approach, every hand in the room was raised. It is the silent majority that is afraid to speak up, but Mike did not hold back. The meeting was also about exercising individual rights and freedoms, and the morale and enthusiasm of those in attendance was very high in support of the much-needed change in the way things are happening on a day-to-day basis. The population is being suppressed and unable to express their will. Mike has stepped up and spoken the words that many are afraid to say.
All right, everyone, grab your seats. I will be your host this evening. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Michael Lathigee. I am the president and founder of the Investment Club of America. It's always interesting to start off an evening like this one because of everything that's been going on in the world, in our country, in our community, in our family. And I kind of want to start out tonight a little bit different although I start every meeting different, you guys never know what to expect. By the way, who's actually a club member? Raise your hand nice and high and proudly. Fantastic. And who are our guests this evening? Oh, okay, welcome guests. Great to see you out this evening. All right, I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions to start out. All right, and Dom, I want to make sure that you film it because it'll be representative, I'm hoping, on a cross-section of the American public. I will say primarily white, primarily over 50, but there are some youngins out there as well. All right, the 2 questions I'm going to ask, but don't do anything right now. The first question is, the pandemic will actually create phenomenal investment opportunities in the coming months. Okay? So for those, that's one thing I want you to ponder on. The other thing is, since the pandemic has happened, this has been one of the most depressing times in my life. Okay? Now you can go with both, you can go with one, or if neither apply. Now here's what we're going to do, because I don't want you to be influenced by anyone else. Everyone, close your eyes. Okay? Close your eyes. All right. So let me repeat. If you agree with this statement, COVID-19 has created a number of catastrophic events, but it will lead to opportunities. As an investor, I believe in the future that we are going to have phenomenal opportunities that we can capitalize on. If you believe in that statement, raise your hand nice and high. Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Great stuff. All right. Second question. Close your eyes again, please. The pandemic has created a situation where it's had a negative impact on myself, my family, my work environment, and I have found myself to experience depression in a way that has not really occurred in the past. If that applies to you, raise your hand. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll give you the results. And it is interesting. On the opportunity part of it, over 90% of you raised your hands. That's great. Obviously, I'm in a group of optimists. Fantastic. Good on you. On the depression part, about 10% of you raised your hands. Okay, so I totally get it. And what's interesting is a number of you who raised your hands at the end for the depression also raised your hands on the opportunity. So that's very interesting as well. So, look, I'm going to go through some things this evening, and in a little bit too, as part of tonight, I'd like to bring one of my friends over from days gone past when I see him, Ryan Ahern. He's his father owns the casino here, and so I want to bring him over and interact with him. But for those of you who are guests and those of you who are members, obviously it's been a little bit difficult to hold meetings during COVID. And as a matter of fact, it's been very difficult to even hold a meeting this evening at any hotel. Hence the reason why we're here. And this has probably been the most accommodating venue of any place that I've ever interacted with. It's been excellent. So go more into that. Yeah, very much so. This place has been fantastic. I've written over a dozen articles, as you guys are well aware, who are club members since the first of the year, guiding members. One of the main themes that I've had is gold and silver to basically encompass at least 10% of your net worth. And there's a number of reasons for that. You guys have heard me talk about it. Gold actually hit last Wednesday a 9-year high. And I'll also go with the fact that some of you were, well, most of you were in the meeting where I did my economic outlook for 2020 in January. And what I talked about in that meeting, the main theme was, I talked about a recession or an economic downturn was highly improbable, but I gave it a much higher probability than the majority of economists out there. And what I did is I talked about 3 ways where we would see a massive economic downturn. And one of the 3 was a pandemic, when it was not popularly talked about in the media at that point. The other thing that I talked about, and those of you who are members, I want you to raise the hand because we have a number of guests here who are here this evening. Who remembers me going on at length that we had to get positioned in at least 10% of our portfolio in gold and silver? Raise your hands if you remember me talking about. Look around, those who are guests, okay, look around, okay? Now 10% means if you have a net worth of $2 million, 200 grand goes into gold and silver. Now, why would I say that? And it's for a very, very simple reason. You never buy gold and silver for it to go up. Well, Mike, that doesn't make any sense. But it absolutely does. You were buying gold and silver at that point because I saw a number of variables in the marketplace that caused me a lot of concern. And at that point, I said, look, the market is overvalued. And I'm going to talk about valuation again tonight. But the market is overvalued, and there's a number of things that I see, and I went through 3 situations as to why I could see, in heavy debt and so on, why I felt that we had a great exposure. And I said to the members, look, I want you to buy gold and silver, and I want it to become a large part of your portfolio simply as a hedge. Then I went on and I said, look, I said, at the time, silver was hovering around $15 an ounce. And I said, guys, if silver goes from $15 an ounce to $150 an ounce, is that good or bad? How many of you think good? And I got them to raise their hands. About 90% of the hands in the room went up. I said, how many of you think bad? A few hands went up. And then I said, how many of you think neither? And the answer was, in fact, neither. Because what happens is this. If silver was to go from $15 an ounce to $150 an ounce, it's very likely the rest of your portfolio has completely collapsed. That's all gold and silver are, is a hedge of insurance within your portfolio. And what I'm seeing right now is that you take a hedge on your portfolio unlike any other time in living history. I'm going to use the word interesting. In my 55 years of existence, and I know I look a lot younger than that, I'll just compliment myself while I'm up here. I'm trying, people, I'm trying. And why do I say that? Because a big focus of the club always is about health and fitness. All right? I'm always kicking you guys in the ass to stay in shape, and there's a number of things that we do. And one of the pillars of the club is, in fact, personal empowerment to always remain healthy. And I'm not going to go off on my normal tangents like I always do, because I told every speaker tonight, and there's going to be 4 of us, I'm hosting it, each of us have 29 minutes on stage, not a minute more. 29 minutes. And I got my clock going here, Mark, and I'll watch Joel, I'll watch Joanne, and I'll sure as hell watch you.
No way.
Yeah. But what I'm particularly concerned about, members and guests tonight, is valuations. There is a complete and utter disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. Wall Street completely ignores all the economic devastation that's going on. You know, like, you listen, restaurants, it's mind-boggling. Restaurants in most states are allowed to be at 50% capacity. They can't be profitable, most of them, unless they're sitting at 80%. Look, here's the great opportunity that's going to arise in the coming months. Commercial real estate. Commercial real estate landlords are getting absolutely annihilated. Let me give you a great example. We own 14 gyms as the Investment Club of America. For more than 6 years, we've been making cash flow payments out to the membership. Well, all of that changed when COVID hit. You can't make cash flow payments when your gyms ain't open. Okay? The great news for the members, and we're going to have a meeting and we're going to go through all this. Although you hear Gold's Gym has gone bankrupt, you've heard 24-Hour Fitness gone bankrupt, you've heard Steve Nash Gym going bankrupt, I will say we have phenomenal leadership. We will 100% see our way through it. Because I've had members ask me, Mike, are we going to lose our principal? Absolutely not. We're not even close to that. But I'll tell you something. The governor in California shut down all our gyms today at midnight. So we just reopened. We mobilized to open. Okay? It's not like you reopen a gym. It takes about a week in the process to reopen, get all the staff back. We've been open 23 days, and now we have to shut down again. All right? But there's a lot going on. I've jumped back in. I'm on the front lines with 14 different landlords and a host of other things. I can tell you guys and assure you guys we're in a very good position. The other thing I'll tell you about the LBIC fund, for those of you who's involved in the LBIC fund, some of the members, raise your hand. Okay, I've got an update here tonight, but a little bit of good news. I said to Praveen, who is the managing member of the fund, I said, Praveen, we've got $2 million in the fund. I went through my global outlook for what I saw happening about 45 days ago, and I said, Praveen, how about we take 15% of the portfolio, which is in line in keeping with what I talk about to the members. Let me use it with the investment strategy of what I always discuss on stage. And the good news is, guys, we took that 300 grand, which is 15% of 2 million, and we've had gains of a little over 50 grand in 45 days. Who thinks that's good? Okay? Well, I hope every hand goes up. You guys are a tough crowd to please, okay? So, obviously we're doing things right. We've had 4 private placements that we've gone in, and if you can believe it, in the last 120 days, all 4 of them have done another financing, even in this very tough environment, at a price higher than ours. So for those of you involved in the LBIC fund, you can rest assured, things are going well. We're in a good place. It's not a time to worry. And if you recall, like the biggest opportunities really come with, hey, you know, you've heard it many times, when there's blood in the streets. And the reason I came originally to live in Las Vegas was because in 2010, I was looking at cap rates. And even in San Diego, as badly beaten up as it was in 2010, cap rates were still not making sense. But when I came to Vegas, cap rates were well into double digit. So what did I do? And this was the infancy, how the club originated. I started little tours where we would drive. Remember that, Brett? We drive around in buses, and I do I had just moved here, okay? And I'm doing tours, real estate tours of the city. But I'm talking about the phenomenal cap rates in Las Vegas. And what happened was we found this little pocket community in Summerlin called Desert Shores. And it was Desert Shores Villas. And we bought 68 condominiums. Now listen to this as a cap rate. We were paying about $40,000 a door, and we were collecting $750 to $850 a month in rent. Who think that's a damn good cap rate? It is. We got phenomenal cash flow payments. 3 years later, we sold it for great profits. And that's a big part of how the Investment Club of America started. We had great success.
And what we're riding right now is we're riding several years. We've done 13 deals in a row that have all met or exceeded expectations. The only time we got in trouble was in the beginning when we didn't take an active role daily in the companies that we were invested into. And what we learned is, unless you're involved and unless you control it, you don't do it. Who thinks that's a damn good strategy? Well, you might think that, but a lot of you invest in big companies and you can't even read the financial statements. Now, Mike, you're kind of beating this up, but it's true. Because what a secular bull market will do is it will create a lot of geniuses that really can't even understand what it is that they're invested in. What I'm going to guide you tonight is to do a couple things within your portfolio. Look, right now, the stock market is trading at 28.5 times next year's freaking earnings. That's insane. It's never been that high. That's ludicrous. There's a lot of day traders that have jumped into the market. Nothing makes any sense. Let me give you some more ridiculous numbers. Chipotle, 109 times earnings. That means it would take 109 years to pay off the price that you paid for the share. Oh, it gets worse. Amazon, 123. It gets worse. Zoom, 192. And then when I talk to people, what do you own? Well, I own Zoom and I own Amazon. Why? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Run for the frickin' hills. Take your money, sit on it, and hoard cash. This is the best time ever to hoard cash. You bank as much money as you possibly can for the blood that will be in the streets in the coming months. Where do I think we're going to have the number one opportunity for ourselves? I think it's going to be in commercial real estate. I really do. And I also, some other things, just on guidance. And Ryan, I want, in a few minutes, I want to make sure I put a little, I want you to come up, I want to introduce you to the group. But I'll just give you some of the value of the club. I wrote, when the futures oil market hit negative, that means basically, let me put it in simple layman's terms. People own a futures oils contract, and no one wanted it. All the tankers were full, and so basically, they were paying you to take the oil's future contract off their hands. What I wrote immediately, and the members saw it, I said, guys, there is a phenomenal opportunity here. Oil is not going away. By the way, our oil project, we are killing it in a great way right now. Why? Because we're sitting all in cash and we are bottom feeding. We are bottom feeding and we're doing well. So again, for all the members who are involved in various projects, we're in a great position. We're going to weather the storm, we're going to grow, we're going to have more membership, and we're going to continue to do well. Well, what I said was, guys, buy oil. Here's the ETFs you may want to consider, because the big problem a lot of times with retail investors is it becomes very difficult to stock pick on individual stocks if you can't understand the financial statements. But if you know a general trend, and that trend is saying it makes sense to have oil and own oil, and oil is selling at ridiculously like $5, $10, and so on. What did I say? And it's all on writing. It's all posted. Buy these ETFs. Here's good ones to own. I sent them out. Sell at $40, and you will do phenomenally well. So what's happened? Those who followed that guidance over the last several months, I've talked to some members, I've interacted, you've more than doubled your investments in those particular strategies. So yes, there are benefits to investing within the club, but there's also benefits with the guidance that we give. because we couldn't hold regular meetings, I had to do a little bit of writing and communicate to you guys in ways that we don't normally do because we couldn't have a bunch of meetings. Now, what I'm going to do is, Brian, are you over there? Come on over. I really want to put in, I'm so excited about this place. I'm going to tell you guys a little story. I don't really want to throw the Orleans under the bus, but here's what happened. Here's why we're here. All right? We have done 132 events at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. All right? Like, you think 132 events, we'd have awesome rapport. I do all I can. But I called up and I said, look, what are we going to do? We have an event. I know we're going to have more than 50 people at our event. And, you know, what can you do? No, we're going to hold strictly to the bylaw. You have to be at 50 or less. Fine. So then I'm like, I can't hold a meeting. It'll just tick off the members. But I went the next step anyway. And I said, okay, if we were to hold a meeting, could we hold it in Salon F? And that's the one that we normally do for 50 people. And they said, no, you can't hold it in Salon F. You have to use Salon G. Salon G is where we hold our annual Econo Summit 2-day event where people fly in from all over the country, all our members all across. We have 212 members, of which about 100 are in Las Vegas and the other 100 are across America. And so what happened is they said, yeah, you can hold it in Salon G, but with social distancing, everyone's going to have to be 6 feet apart. And oh, by the way, it's going to cost you double. I'm like, what? And I said, look, you guys aren't making any sense to me. There's a lot of crazy things that are going on right now. I called my good friend Mark over here to my left, and his beautiful wife Joanne. And Mark said, Mike, call Shane over at Ahern's Casino. And I got really excited. I go, is that related to Ryan? Because Ryan, here's how it worked with Ryan. Nicest guy in the world. Nicest guy in the world. His father bought the hotel. Okay? I used to go over to Ahern's on UFC night, and he has this beautiful theater that's about the size of this part of the room that we're in, with and the seats go up like this, and the screen is about that big, and we used to watch the UFC fights there. And then I lost touch. I found out he was out on cruise ships performing. He's actually performed in Vegas, and he's one of the most talented piano players you could ever meet in your life. I've seen his performances. They're world class, and now he has an orchestra. I mean, we're talking world class musician, and he's going to run the entertainment at the hotel here. And I went up, and Shane showed me around the hotel. And the rooms here, the nicest hotel rooms in Vegas are the Cosmopolitan, Encore and Wynn, Mandalay Bay, and Ahern's Casino. Those are your nicest rooms on the Strip. And it's just fantastic because you come up and they've got 211 rooms. So next year, people, here's the great news, and I'm still working with the guys here, but look at this. We freaking own this hotel right now, members. Look around. This is pretty cool, isn't it? So I just want to bring Ryan up here because they've been phenomenal. Come on up and say hello, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for being here. You know, as a lot of you know, we just acquired this hotel about 18 months ago, and we've worked very hard to take out the Chinese elements that were everywhere, all the Chinese signage and stuff. Has anybody been to this casino when it was open? Okay, quite a few. All right, well, it's a lot different now, as you can tell. And our family has a great vision for what this hotel can be, and the people that surround us, and all the wonderful people that show up here, and people like yourself who bring wonderful groups. We want you to feel at home, and we would like this to be your home for all your future events. And we have one of the most amazing restaurants in town, Chef Mark up there. Have you eaten at Chef Mark's? Yeah. All right. They're open tonight till 9. If you guys want to stick around, you're more than welcome to, of course. But anything you need in the future, we'd love to have you, and we really appreciate you being here and being part of this vision that we have for wonderful hotel. Now, we don't have a casino, so it's the Ahern Hotel. But the rooms are very nice, and we would love for you to stay here. And if there's anything that I can do to be of service, you please let me know. And thank you all so much for being here. And have a great evening tonight.
Thanks,
you.
Ron.
So, and just to tell you, I mean, very competitive. If anyone, some of you already taken rooms for this evening, $99. And the rooms really are phenomenal at the hotel. So, I'm going to end with one example, and then I want to bring up our first presenter this evening. But I kind of want to just talk about opportunity and give an example. And in 2003 and 2004, there was Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. For those who are guests, the way I say out, you can normally tell I'm Canadian. Yes, I am Canadian, proudly Canadian, but very proudly American. I'm much more Canadian or American cultured than Canadian. It's about individual rights and freedom, the idea of working hard to get ahead, and what it is that you attain through your hard work you should be able to keep. Canada is much more of a collective society, okay? Much more in tune to the American way. But I'm very concerned right now in many ways in which it's potentially could be destroyed. And I will tell you one side note before I go there on that other story though. A lot of people are saying Trump does not hold a chance to win the next election. But let me tell you something that's interesting that tells me that may not be the case. There is a conservative news reporter by the name of Carson Tucker. Who's heard him? Okay. Well, Carlson, right, on his social media, and tonight I didn't even get to this subject. I had a whole thing I wanted to go on about my concerns with the Black Lives Movement. And I'm going to go, and I'm going to say it, because politically it may not be correct. All lives matter. Okay? All lives matter. And just because I say all lives matter doesn't mean that African American lives matter less. And I'll tell you something. It's completely unacceptable when a teacher from Chicago gets fired because she doesn't completely understand the aspects of the whole argument of BLM because she says all lives matter in an innocent way. In the same way they fired a talk show host for the same thing. That's bullshit to me. That is complete bullshit. Let me tell you something else ironic. In San Francisco last week, they had a protest to defund the police. Okay? We all are aware of that. Here's the ironic part of it. They called the police department because they wanted the police on hand for their police protest to defund the police department. Bloody ridiculous. Look at the shootings right now in Chicago.
For years.
All right? Right now it's worse than normal. Way worse than normal. It's up 600% over last year. So, you know, it's the people who I meet and the people I interact with, they believe all lives matter. And I don't know one person, I really don't, who's a bigot and a racist, who doesn't think equality for African Americans. But this movement has gone so far that people are afraid to voice their opinions publicly. And if you write anything online many times, especially if you write the word all lives matter, you are attacked as a racist. I mean, for God's sake, they're taking down General Grant's statue, who fought for the general for the Union. I mean, where does it stop? So I'm at a point where I know that there is a massive majority of Americans who are afraid. Now, how did I tie in Carlson Tucker? Okay?
What? Carlton. Carlson. Tucker Carlson. I'm making sure you guys are staying awake, paying attention. All right? But he has two first names, that's why I get confused. Here it is. The guy's social media has grown to 60 million people because he takes it on day after day, BLM and why he disagrees. What does that tell me? That tells me that there's 60 million Americans out there that are like, enough is enough, and I have someone out there speaking the way that I think. And as a result, I think what we could see in the election at the vote is, again, a massive majority of people coming out to vote that will have a change on what pollsters actually expect. And it's amazing. I talk to so many people. When people said, Mike, what's your talk about tonight? I said, all lives matter. And they said, are you freaking nuts? No, I don't care. I speak the truth. And when I come down, and you guys know, like I'm one of those idiots who comes down to watch the protest. Okay? What I saw there was primarily a bunch of kids under 20 years old. No, probably for the most part, no real life experience. A large majority of them white. And if you stood up and you said, what does BLM mean? They can't articulate it because there's no direct leader. There's no direct communication on what it is. But I'll tell you something. There's a lot of fear out there, and everyone for every reason right now can be called a racist. And I've never seen anything like it. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to put up with it. I have African American friends, and I go through this conversation all the time. I'm not. And I just think that we can do better, and I think we're actually being bullied in a lot of ways with what's going on. Who agrees with that we're being bullied? Look, get this, Dom. Get this. No, get this. Who agrees we're being bullied? Look at that. Now that's a powerful statement when you feel that way in your own country. So look, I kind of want to bring up our next speaker on a bit of a high, not like kind of something, that's going down in this direction. But I appreciate all of you guys for coming out tonight. And it's phenomenal attendance. It's exciting. I feel so great to be able to be back out. And you know what? We're living the American dream, and there's a lot of things like it's optional if you want to wear a mask or not. And what am I seeing here? I'm seeing a room of freaking libertarians. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a room looking, I totally respect you wear a mask and it's for your own protection. And I fully agree. I know that there's a lot of signs. All I'm saying is people in this room right now are able to do what they want within their own liberty. Okay? And I know everyone may not agree with me, but when I'm looking around in the room tonight, I think people are feeling a little bit more comfortable than most places. Like, it drives me crazy. The other day I went to Las Vegas Athletic Club, and I was working out. You have to wear your mask going in. Then you can take your mask take your mask off while you're working out. Then you have to put it back on when you're leaving. But I walked up to the front. She's got a plexiglass glass in front of her. She's got an N95 mask, and I have my mask in my pocket, and I said, could I have an oat bar, please? And she said, no, sir, I can't serve you without a mask. I'm like thinking, oh my God, like logic has lost all reasoning. And I said, thank you very much, I just left. But who's kind of experienced some of those frustrating situations that make absolutely no sense? And I get it. This is, well, yeah, and I don't want to go too far, Sisolak and California governor and so on. You know, and I think right now it's real exciting because I want you guys to hear from our other speakers. So let me see.